think predictions for especially February and March, because of the stamp duty holidays, I think February and March are going to be super busy.
Is talking about kind of supply and demand, and at the moment it seems like there's limited supply, and obviously that has the effect of increasing in prices.
The repossession ban, for lack of a better word, ends in March, April this year. Not the floodgates to open in August, September. He's expecting there to be a whole punch through of stock there where it was half dealt with before the ban had come in. So they're going to come in. There's a backlog there to clear. But he's expecting by the end of 2021, so, beginning of Q4 to end of Q4, for there to be the same kind of stock, repo stock enter the market, less maybe 10, 15% of the figures that were seen in 2010, which is obviously, when things started to kick off after the 2008 crisis. So he's expecting 10 to 15% figures less this time, which, if you think about it, is massive. Yeah. For those kind of figures to be at for him to expect those kind of figures. Yeah. He's not expecting 2010 levels, but he's expecting, within 10% of that, which is, that's market crash level activity without there being a market crash.
And in terms of when you say about kind of what the stock, people are looking at different stock without giving your own strategy away, like how do you think that will change? How do you think that will differ?
The amount of due diligence you want to be doing on a tenant before you're buying tenanted stock in this market is 10 to the power of what you were doing beforehand, right?
Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year to you all. We are starting our usual forecasts for 2022. Can you believe a year has gone already? I can actually, because it felt like a really long year last year. Anyway, we are here with the lovely Piotr and Jay of Hammered, and we're going to talk about what happened in auctions last year, and we're going to have a look forward to what we think might happen. I mean, who knows, right? All bets are off at the moment, aren't they? But look forward to 2022 and get some great insights from the guys as usual. So welcome, guys, my honorary property sisters. How are you? How was Christmas?
Good to be on this show, and it's a little scary as well, because when you send us the video from last year, we're like, what did we say? but excited to be on this channel, and it's amazing that a year has flown by,
hasn't it? And actually, I had a quick look back at what we were saying last year as well, and everything, given we were doing it so early on, so more or less again at this time, wasn't it, like very early January? And we're working on kind of the assumptions and what we had going on at the time, and who knew all the changes that we're gonna make and have such a big impact on the property market in general, let alone just the auctions.
Yeah, indeed. I think there's it's like we got the first 3 months more or less right. And then the assumptions changed because there was and new extensions, the bans of full possessions for like all the furlough, terminating the commercial tenancy for non-payment of the rent and all the other things. So it's kind of changed what we anticipated, but not massively. And what we see kind of in the last couple of days in the newspapers is that the average house prices in the year have increased by over 10%, I think £253,000 or something like this, more or less. So I think it's like we got the trajectory right, but I think we said that the supply was going to be increased, that there's going to be more properties in the market, but that's actually not true. Like, everyone is so hungry for properties, for deals, and we speak, and Jay speaks a lot with cash buying companies, so he might say a little bit more, but the people that I spoke to, they're saying that what they see is that some of the cash buying companies are so thirsty for deals, they just buy almost anything because they want stock, they need to feed the machine. So
right.
Well, I think you can actually, that is anyone who, if you're on Facebook and you're a property person, the chances are you're seeing the adverts, all of these cash buying companies coming up on your newsfeed, especially on Facebook. And that's because they are desperate for deals. So they have really ramped up their clicks and, all of the SEO, click to ad ratio, all those kind of things. They've really gone off on that stuff. But on top of that, they've started going back to some really old school techniques. So they're leafleting like it's going out of fashion.
Oh, wow.
So no brightly coloured envelopes asking to rent your house to do God knows whatever to it, but literally just they are leafleting like it's going out of fashion. There's probably a third of the Amazon rainforest that's being leafleted across London and parts of Hartlepool or wherever it is that they focus on. And that is, and on top of that, there's been in the last year, there was like 6 new property buying companies that joined the property buying company redress scheme. So not all property buying companies do that, but the ones that are looking to build quite a profile, and I think if you're going to do it in an ethical way, you need a profile, you need to position yourself correctly, you need a redress scheme behind you, all of those kind of things. So that shows that either they were there already and decided, right, this is the next step that we need to take to be more, recognizable and trusted and respected, blah blah blah, or they are brand new to the market. And that's interesting because that tells me actually, if you go and talk to the average person anywhere in the UK, I make it a habit every time I sit down, I go to my barber, which costs me a lot of money, as you can tell. I go to my barber and he's recently had a child. And he said, we're looking at moving from our 2-bedroom house to a 3-bedroom house. And in the last year, I must have gone to the hairdressers X number of times outside of lockdowns. And I said, so have you found somewhere? And this, that, and the other. He goes, we put an offer in on a property. It was £80,000 above what they were asking. And we still got outbid for it and blah, 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 blah. There are properties on the market, but they're not on the market for long.
Right.
And the prices that are being achieved are, for the most part, quite crazy. And that's not just auctions, that's in general. But I mean, one of the points we made last year was actually the auctions are resilient. They're the quickest to respond to change because they're normally ahead of the market in a certain respect. And that much is true. Like we've seen that the auctions have done, and that was Piotr's point, auctions have done phenomenally well. But the thing is, if you're struggling to get deals from estate agents because every end user owner occupier can outbid you because they're not thinking about ROCE, return on, ROI, they're not thinking about any of that stuff, the IRR, they don't care. Like, I want to live in here, I can pay £20,000 more than so-and-so, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But at auctions, you're starting to see a lot of people coming to the auctions, not necessarily knowing what they're doing, and the bids are going insane. Like some of the stuff, we're sitting there thinking, right, how is someone making this stack? What strategy are they using for this to return them in the first 6 months? Be a little bit friendly with it. And some of it is really difficult to see. And that in fairness, people might be doing amazing things. But, on the balance, it's probably someone's overpaid just to get the stock. And that's what you're finding. Actually, as Piotr says, there's not that much stock on the market. And the things that are hitting the market are flying like far too fast. And actually,
this has been a recurring theme, though, with people overpaying. Like we've definitely, maybe not the whole and, entirely through the year, but we've had this conversation a number of times over the past few years, right?
Well, you were on the Buyers Club at some point in the last year, and we would talk about this quite a bit. Yeah. What deals are people looking at? What prices are, and there are people in the club that are still doing really good deals. And there's some really interesting things happening, but it's still that average. You can pay a decent amount, and I think we were looking at buying something with one of the club members as a JV, and we went, I think, about £70,000, £80,000 over the guide, and it sold for another 40,000 on top of that. And we're like, well, you can't compete with crazy
money. No.
But it's definitely a recurring theme. And I think one of the things I'm hoping for actually is because the policy changes from the repossession ban, the eviction ban, all that stuff is coming to an end, it's changing.
Yeah.
If a whole heap of stock hits the market at once and floods the market, actually it's going to look like property values have gone down, but they wouldn't have it will just kind of start to cool the market down a little bit. It's just a supply demand issue.
And that's what we started talking about last year, wasn't it? That whole supply and demand and the effect on price. And
So we'll see. But I think one of the things that keeps the prices going up is the inflation and the availability of money. So there's a lot of money available and a lot of money that needs to be employed. And that's what makes people like buy properties, and auctions are just a great convenient place to buy something, because it's like a supermarket. You come in, you pay, and you go out with a property. And normally estate agents kind of are not the same. And what we've seen in the last year as well is a lot of traders buy properties of estate agents, and they just put them straight into auction, and they do extremely well. And we've seen a lot of those properties which were listed on Reala or some other property portals, and then as soon as they're being sold, they're put into auction and they sell for more money, or sometimes almost the same money, but it's under the auction terms. So we also had a few people in our Auction Buyers Club who bought something from estate agents or from another auction, then put things in another auction just in a more appealing way, and those things made a lot of profit for those auction sellers. So
and that's, if you know what you're doing, that's a really kind of simple and I won't say easy, because I don't, nothing in property is that as easy as we ever think it is, but it's a very kind of straightforward way of doing things, isn't it? And actually, you're going to be helping people with that. Tell us about what you've got planned for the 5th of January.
Yeah, so on the 5th of January, we've got a 1-hour masterclass that we're running online. And this is going to be all about doing things like that, how to spot opportunities. What is an opportunity in an auction or through an estate agents that you can put into an auction, and basically how to avoid buying lemons, because that's another opportunity. That's another important thing. And we're going to be covering some of the case studies of things like that. So it's on the 5th of January, and it will be done online.
And is that what it's called? Don't buy lemons. I love
lemons, red flags. I mean, we you know what we're like. It's
going to be a colourful presentation.
I'll be there for sure. And then you're going to have a follow-up after the masterclass, are you?
That's right. So basically, we're going to run an in-person workshop, a 2-day workshop on the 17th and 18th of February in London. And that's going to be like an in-depth workshop where we're going to be like diving deep into actually reviewing auction catalogs and kind of going through all the bits and pieces that make people successful in auctions. And we're going to have several guest speakers and also several traders who do those things on a daily basis. So it's not only us, there's going to be several other people who are going to make this event quite special.
Great stuff. Well, I'm back in March to record the next series of Property Elevator. So I wonder if I can look at my flights and try and arrange to be there. Maybe might have to zoom me in otherwise.
Definitely. And anyone who's considering like being on a property elevator, they can come into so that they can learn in 2 days how to get really good deals on the elevator.
To be fair, that's a great point. That's a really great point. Or little plug for my the other thing that I do, Property Graduate. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard their first round was assessing an auction deal. So yeah, send them our way.
Yeah. Round 2 it was. Yeah, that's what.
Round 2.
So the 10 people, we had 20 people in the first round, and the 10 that got through to the second round each got a different deal to analyze. So yes, if you want to be in with a chance and really know kind of what to look for and all the tricks and tips, then get yourself on this on the 5th of January, and then maybe also in February as well. So thank you so much for your time, guys. It would be lovely to touch base with you again, as we did last year through the year, and see what's happening. Are things going as expected? And when there's the changes, what the impact on the auction and the property market in general is. And of course, I have the pleasure of seeing you every Sunday. So do join us. We're now beaming. God, it sounds very Star Trek, doesn't it? Streaming, the technical word is. Every Sunday, our Sunday special chats with the fabulous Adam Lawrence and Ross Harper. We're now streaming those live on the Property Sisters YouTube channel. That's 10 o'clock UK time every Sunday. And so if you want to hear more from the boys, or if you have questions, we love it when it gets interactive. So do join us then. And if you've got any topics you really want us to talk about, let us know in the comments and we'll try and address that too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Helen.
Speak to you soon.